Okay, so although some people are still connecting, I think it's time to start. So first of all, welcome all of you to this fourth seminar of this series in which we are discussing research challenges for advanced cyber physical systems. So the speaker for today is Filipa Ferrada, and she's going to talk about a kind of exotic topic that is emotions in collaborative networks. So some of you might wonder, what does this have to do with engineers and technical people? But I hope that Filipa will convince everybody about the importance of the topic and how engineers can have an important role in socio-technical systems. So after the presentation of Filipa, then we'll have, as usual, a time period for discussion and questions, and that period will be moderated by Sanaz. It's also here. So, Filipa, it's your turn.
Okay, thank you. Let me just share my screen. Okay. I hope that everyone is already seeing my screen, hopefully. Good afternoon to you all. First, let me just thank for the invitation for this seminar and to have the opportunity to share with you some of the ongoing research in this area of emotions in collaborative networks. This subject, as Professor Camarinha was saying, is a kind of exotic, but I think that is also extremely challenging, especially because it is related with how we can infer or appraise emotions in a collaborative network context. So I will try to be clear and synthetic, and I hope that at the end we can have some discussion and we can see some future directions among all the research topics that we can pursue. So I will start by giving just a brief outline of this presentation. We will start by the motivation of this research topic, just giving a brief overview of what a collaborative network is, the current context, and also the main questions that we want to see answered. Then we will go through the concept of emotion. We will see a summary of some of the types of human theories, and we will also present some computational models of emotions and some emerging applications in the area of emotions. Then, having both the motivation and also the background on emotion, on human emotions, I will introduce how emotions can also be part or affect a collaborative network by introducing the collaborative network emotion. After that, I will be focused on the approach where some innovative aspects of this research area will be presenting, which is basically upon or based on the CEMO, the collaborative emotion modeling framework, and I will then end with an example of a future scenario, and of course with open questions or future research. So starting by what a collaborative network is. A collaborative network is a network of entities, and these entities can be companies, organizations, can be people, and can be even machines that are largely autonomous, geographically distributed, and heterogeneous in terms especially of their operational environment, culture, social capital, goals, etc., that decide to come together in order to collaborate and to achieve better goals and wealth, if you want to say. And all of this is done by and supported by computer networks. So the main advantage of these collaborative networks are basically making part of an environment where we can increase stability and sustainability by, in one hand, reducing costs and time to market, and on the other hand, by increasing the market share, the asset use, skills, knowledge, and also the customer services. So, in other words, with collaborative networks, companies are better prepared to grab business opportunities with less risks for them, and of course, with the advantage of increasing substantially their visibility to the market, especially the small companies. However, and despite taking into consideration all the advantages and the general consensus of the potential benefits of this kind of collaboration, there are unfortunately some risks, and many of them fail nowadays. Being one of the identified aspects for this failure, the lack of member satisfaction, the lack of involvement, and of course the low level of commitment towards the collaborative network. So it is really urgent to find new solutions for sustainability. So in this context, the most recent research in this area is moving towards understanding the benefits of this trade-off between social and organizational aspects of collaboration in such environments, in order, in one hand, to prevent failures, and of course, on the other hand, to contribute to the collaborative network sustainability. So one of the main challenges is the development of the so-called socio-technical systems, which are systems that are able to recognize the interplay between the social interactions and the technology, in this case, within the collaborative network. And this can be achieved through the development of some human technology friendly systems that are endowed with the cognitive models of human factors such as stress, emotion, trust, or even decision-making ability. This is essentially why we tried to bring emotions into the collaborative network context. So what do we know about emotions? Basically, we know that they affect decision-making and that there is a higher ratio of cooperation between agents when they make decisions using emotions. And we also know that through emotions, some conflicts might be mitigated, contributing in this way for a good and successful conflict management. So if we think about member companies in a collaborative environment as agents, and that these agents interact with each other with the main goal or a main purpose, we can also infer that some kind of emotion can be felt between those members, which are in fact the reflex of the dynamics of the interplay or the dynamics between the various agents within the collaborative environment. this brings us to a lot of questions. Some of them are here represented. Basically, how can emotions be felt by organizations? What could be a suitable set of collaborative networks emotional categories? Should we use the same emotions that humans have, or should we use another kind of emotions? What does make sense? How can we apply emotional models to organizations? And the last one, and not the less important, what would be the most adequate mechanisms to appraise each organization's emotion, and of course the collaborative emotion as a whole. Having these research questions in consideration, we started by looking at what is in fact emotion for humans, and what are the main characteristics that are within the concept of emotion. And for that, the first thing that we did was, okay, let's see in the dictionary what is the definition of emotion. So the definition of emotion, in this case in the free dictionary, is that it is a mental state that arises spontaneously rather than conscious effort, and is often accompanied by physiological changes. At the first sight think, okay, it's a good definition, but then when we go further and we try to understand more what emotion in fact is, we find in fact that this is not a consensual definition, and not even an universal one. So this to some extent shapes the complexity of the concept. In this table, I show you just a very brief excerpt of the many definitions of emotion that can be found in the literature, each one changing according to the point of view of the researcher or the author or their scientific backgrounds. Nevertheless, and taking into consideration all of these definitions, we can find some aspects that are common, and the first one that is highlighted is that emotions are of an undeniable value to people and the society, and that without emotions, people and society would not be able to interact in terms that we know nowadays. Other aspects that are also common, or that we can find in some definitions, are the ones presented here. So we can, with emotions, we determine our personality. Without emotions, we could not prepare people for action. So usually people react according to actions. Of course, the role, the important role of the connection between emotions and behavior, that is a kind of aspect related to emotion. Emotions regulate social interactions. They facilitate non-verbal communication, especially through the physiological or the body expression and responses, and also they allow people to respond with flexibility to the environment. So these are only some of the definitions and the main aspects that we can find in literature regarding emotion. In addition, emotions can also be analyzed from many perspectives, and they are in fact studied in many scientific fields. In this figure, we can see the main scientific fields where emotions are studied, and we can see that they are studied in natural science, where emotions are studied in a perspective of a more physiological response to particular situations. Then we have the area of human human sciences, where emotions are explored more in the context of the individual's life experiences. The cognitive sciences area link emotions in a very strict way with cognition. So we have here a set of different areas where cognition and emotion is studied in a very close relationship. And then we have also the area of social sciences, where emotions are studied more from a behavior perspective, both in the context of interpersonal interaction and also on the area of social relationships. Then we also have the area of humanities, where emotions are studied more at the level of how they can influence writers or history, for instance. And finally, we also have emotions being studied in a context of human-computer or human-robot interactions, that where many artificial intelligence models are being developed in order to process human emotions. Regarding, I'm just going through some of these scientific areas just in order to make a background for what I'm going to describe later on. So regarding the theoretical models of emotion, the most known theories are the somatic theory, which states that behavior and body response precedes emotion and cognition. On the other hand, we have also the appraisal theory that, on the contrary, states that thoughts precedes emotion and emotion precedes and motivates behavior. We have the theorists that believe that emotions are discrete categories, and there are a very well-defined set of emotions that can vary from 2 to 11. And we also have the dimensional theory, which is where emotions are studied as a combination of several psychological dimensions. These are basically the most known. Of course, there are many other theories, but these were the ones that were studied in more detail. From the computer science area, there are also several computational models of emotion that have been proposed along the years. Common to all of these mechanisms, we have common to all of these computational models, we have mechanisms that include the evaluation, the elicitation, and the generation of emotional responses, and all of them wish to create means for recognition, expression, and execution of emotional responses. These computational models of emotion are also modeled having into consideration many of the theories, or a combination of theories of emotion, and the majority is implemented using multi-agent systems. Nevertheless, there are other computational techniques that are used in these computational models, and some of them are even combined. Just for instance, strips planning, fuzzy logic, or fuzzy rules, machine learning algorithms, Markov decision processes, believable, desirable, and intentional agents, etc. So we can see, in fact, many computational techniques that are used in order to develop these computational models. Many of these computational models can also be found in a variety of artificial agents that are conceived to deal with the recognition expression and execution of human emotions, and they can be basically divided in three main groups. The non-humanoid embodied agents, the humanoid embodied agents, and the virtual agent. And here we can see examples of such artificial agents that are endowed with emotion. We can find in these examples that they are being applied to some areas, and here I just mentioned some of the areas that are being of most application. We have the healthcare, where personalized treatment of patients are being developed with also the help of artificial agents endowed with emotional aspects. There are also serious games for healthcare, robot patient systems that are being developed in order to assist patients, and so on. We have really many examples of artificial agents in this area. In what regards the entertainment, they are basically focused on gaming and virtual simulation, training and education. We can see intelligent tutoring systems that are also using these kinds of agents. In the area of digital marketing, namely in the area of customer experience and satisfaction, we are also starting to see some agents that are endowed with emotion, and that there are many other areas such as crisis management, where we can find some developments regarding how to model human mobility behavior in crisis situations such as earthquakes or fires, or etc. So we can see that in fact these are areas of application of emotion. So the main challenges of all that are common mostly to all of these developments are basically how can emotions help in decision making, and how emotions could help in creating empathy between humans and robots, or between humans and computers, is the main challenge. Another area that is also being studied and that is playing a significant role is in the area of workplace context, especially through the concept of emotional intelligence. By definition, emotional intelligence is the capacity of recognizing our own feelings and those of others, for motivating ourselves and for managing emotions well in ourselves and in our relationships. So this is being this emotional intelligence is being associated with a total number of a high number of skill areas that can in fact influence a person professional career and improve his or her value at the workplace. So this is also another area that is related with emotion. Here we can see some of the competencies framework, the emotional intelligent competencies framework, and also the emotional intelligence components. They are basically divided in 4 quadrants in the case of the framework, and in the case of the components we can see that they have two main directions, one related with the self emotional skills, and another one with the social or relationship skills. But well, having in mind now the motivation and the research questions, and also the emotional concept background that was described in the last slides. The main idea of this research work is then the proposal of an innovative approach that would be able to sensing the cognitive aspects of collaborative networks by means of appraising the emotional health of the collaborative network itself, and also the organizations that make part of that environment. And this is done aiming at supporting decision makers and managers by offering them another criterion for their decision assessment in what regards some of the operational processes within the collaborative network. And of course, this will follow a non-intrusive way, which means that the only data or the only information that is accessed in order to appraise or in order to generate these emotions is the one that is made public and shared by each company. So in this way we can preserve the privacy of each organization. In addition, this approach also aims at improving, in one hand, the quality of the interactions within the collaborative network through influencing the experience of participants, increasing also the levels of performance and satisfaction, and also creating healthy conditions for keeping them motivated and committed with the collaborative network. On the other hand, we also aim at contributing to the social and organizational aspects of the collaborative network, namely through trust and conflicts management, leadership, and decision making. So all of this is done through three main lines or perspectives. The first one has to do with the adoption of relevant theoretical models of emotion. In this case, particularly the theoretical models of emotion that we have adopted were the appraisal and the dimensional theory. We also got inspiration in some of the studied computational models of emotion, and the ones that basically inspired us were the Catexis, Wasabi, and Kismet models, and finally by borrowing the concept of human emotion and applying it to the context of collaborative networks, creating in this way the concept of collaborative network emotion. So this work is divided into three main levels: the conceptual level, the modeling level, and also the technological level. At the conceptual level, with the aim to give support to the concept and modeling of emotions in the collaborative network context, we propose the CEMO modeling framework. This framework is divided into main parts. One concerning the definition of the collaborative network emotion concept, and the other considering the organizational and the organization of knowledge and the building blocks. The modeling level consists of the development of two distinct modeling methodologies, mainly aiming at instantiating the CEMO modeling framework. The first is based on system dynamics, where two models were developed, one for assessing the individual member emotions, and another one for assessing the aggregated emotion, and a second one based on agent simulation methodology in order to represent the collaborative network as a whole and its members, and also the interactions that will be made among them. And finally, the technological level results in the development of a simulation tool, where on top of which some experiments and sensitive analyses are conducted in order to validate the models that have been proposed. Just going through in a very quick way through all these levels, we can say that at the conceptual level, the collaborative network concept is composed of the individual member emotion and the aggregated network emotion. The individual member emotion represents the emotions that are felt by the individual members of the collaborative network in the course of their interactions within the collaborative network, and the aggregated network emotion represents the emotion that is felt by the collaborative network as a whole, and that results from the aggregation of the individual member emotions of all members, and also the dynamics of the collaborative network itself. Having into consideration that we are dealing with organizations and not humans, the types of collaborative network emotion that were considered were the ones that we thought that would be most adequate for this context. So the collaborative emotion is comprised of two positive emotions, the excitement and the contentment, and two negative emotions, which are the frustration and depression. And we also have a neutral type. As before mentioned, this work is based on the dimensional theory of human emotion. In this case, we picked the dimensional model to adopt, and more precisely, the Russell's complex circumplex model of affect. In this dimensional model, we and in an analogy with the one from Russell, it comprises four quadrants. For the four collaborative network emotions that we have, each one positioned in each quadrant, taking into consideration the value of the two dimensions, the valence and arousal. So, for instance, for the case of excitement, we can say that excitement is characterized by having positive valence, which is the level of pleasure, displeasure, and also positive arousal. That means that is the level of activation, and so on and so forth for the other emotions. Besides this dimensional theory or this dimensional model, we also adapted our work on the component theory of Schreier. The idea behind this theory is that emotion should be seen as a process rather than simply affective state. So in this line, we adopted some of these components in order to embrace in our collaborative network concept. The CEMO framework is then comprised of two main building blocks. One that is devoted to the individual member emotion estimation or appraisal, and the other one that is devoted to the aggregated network network emotion interactions, if you can say. Both blocks are compliant or follow the collaborative network emotion concept and theories that were described in the previous slide. And as we can see, both models interact with the collaborative network environment in order, in the first place, to collect data for evaluation of the collaborative emotions, and also in a second phase to give response, or to give an emotional response to the environment also. So also, as previously said, the data that is delivered is through the collaborative network environment is present in the collaborative network management system, and of course has a public nature, just in order to preserve some sensitive data of the companies or the organizations that make part of the collaborative network. Regarding each building block, we can see that they are composed of two elements that are mostly contextual elements, which is the perception and the internal knowledge, and two main or two core elements, which are the emotion and behavior in the case of the individual emotion, and the emotion, reasoning and decision making elements. The focus of this presentation will be basically on these two components, and I will very roughly describe how we implemented this in with the models. So at the modeling level, the approach proposes to model the emotion and the emotion reasoning components through a system dynamics methodology. The system dynamics methodology comprises two main components: the causal loop diagrams, which represents the qualitative causal relationships of the system variables, and also the stocks and flows diagrams that represents the quantitative part. In this line, two models were then conceived: the individual member emotion appraisal model and the aggregated network emotional appraisal model, where basically the idea is to appraise the two dimensions that will then characterize the respective or the corresponding emotion that is being felt. The input variables for these models are given by the evidences data, and also by the internal stimuli and goals that are provided in the CEMO framework. In this slide, we can see the developed system dynamic models for the case of the individual emotion. And especially the causal loop diagram that represents the causal relationships of all involved variables, and also the stocks and flows diagram, which set up the formal model of the state and output variables. In here we can see an example of the formal mathematical model of one of the output variable, that is the valence. Of course, we have another for the arousal also. The same method was applied for the aggregated network emotion, and we also designed also the causal loop diagram and also the stocks and flows diagrams. The agent-based modeling approach is used as a potential solution for representing the abstraction of the collaborative network and all its involved players. So for this, we defined three types of agents. The IMA agent, or the individual member agent, that represents each participating member of the collaborative network. Then we have the collaborative network administrator agent that represents the emotion management system. And we also have another one that basically represents the population of agents that live inside the collaborative network, which are the collection of the members, the IMA agents, and also the collaborative network agents. In addition to them, both the IMA and the collaborative network agents are modeled with two sub-agents that are responsible for the perception and the emotional appraisal or the emotional reasoning elements. In the case of the individual agent, the perception agent deals with the collection of data from the collaborative network environment, and the emotion agent deals with the appraisal of the individual emotion. And it is within, or it is in this agent that we have embedded the system dynamic model presented before. The same reasoning was applied for the collaborative network administrator agent, and also the two sub-agents are also representing in one hand the agent that perceives or that collects the data, and another agent that is responsible for the emotional appraisal, and that also embeds the system dynamics model presented before. In this slide, we can see the simulation model. The simulation model, or a part of the simulation model, some screenshots, where we can see that they were implemented using the AnyLogic simulation and modeling tool. Here I present some screenshots of the implementation parts of the individual member emotion agents, namely the state diagrams, and also its two sub-agents, taking also into consideration their state diagrams, and also here a representation of the implementation of the system dynamics model associated with the individual emotion agent. In this screenshot, we can see the overall picture of the simulation, where we can see that the green ones are the ones that are with excitement emotion, being the green one, the organization or the agent that is extremely depressed. So this is just to give an idea of how we implemented this and how we then conducted the validation of the models. So with this work, the first set of the research questions are mainly answered. Nevertheless, of course, there are many other questions that arise, and also we start thinking about how we can use this emotion appraisal in future processes within collaborative networks. And that's why I present now this scenario. As you know, one of the main objectives of a collaborative network is to be prepared to grab business opportunities, and for that it is important to, whenever a business opportunity arises, to rapidly form a collaboration team that we call here a virtual organization. In the process of the formation of this virtual organization, there is a virtual organization planner or coordinator that is responsible to select the most appropriate and adequate partners, taking into consideration the requirements of the business opportunity. And for now, it has access to a variety of criteria for making that decision, such as the member's competencies and skills, profiles, trust level of each member, what is their value system, and if they are aligned with each other, etc. And now we imagine that why not using emotions and the emotion appraisal that we have just developed in order to give another criteria to this process of selection, and give it in a more social perspective when it comes also to deciding what would be the best solution. So imagining this, the scenario will be basically helping this VO planner with another criteria. In this case, we say that imagine that when creating a VO, you as a VO planner will be able to understand the emotional preparedness of each VO partner or potential partner in order to collaborate within a virtual organization that is behind their own competencies, skills, and etc. So for that, we think that new and innovative modules dedicated to understand each member emotional maturity, and then with this emotional maturity that could be based on a set of different components, this emotional maturity would be able to perform what we call the emotional matching or the emotional alignment between partners, and to this context help in selecting the better consortia, not only from the technical part, but also taking into consideration a more social and perspective. And we believe that with this, it will be possible to minimize some collaboration failures and potentiate a successful collaboration. So in line with this future scenario, we have submitted a proposal, an exploratory proposal to the FCT Scientific Research and Technological Development Call in order to explore in more detail this scenario. The team is composed of me and Inês Oliveira, Professor Camarinha, and also Nazanin Vafai, that has been working in multi-criteria decision systems, which fits in perfection in this area. And the main objective to create in the creation of these VOs is naturally to minimize potential conflicts, increase productivity, reduce the stress, and also promoting trustable relationships. All of these fostering, of course, the stability and sustainability of those virtual organizations. Just to end this presentation, I will just leave some open questions and future research directions that we think that would be interesting to pursue. Basically, it is our understanding that we should in fact bring experts from different scientific areas, namely from psychological areas, sociology of organizations. They are extremely important in order to help developing the most accurate and adequate models for these collaborative emotions. We should also explore or understand how emotions could in fact affect the organization's behavior towards collaboration. What would be the reactions of these organizations, taking into consideration negative emotions or even the positive ones? What would be their behavior towards collaboration? We should also explore in more detail how emotions can effectively bring insight to decision-making processes. We gave, I just give an example on the process of selecting partners for virtual organization, but many others are needed to be thought of. We also think that exploring the creation of a collaborative network emotional competencies framework by abstracting to somehow the notion of organization emotional intelligence that could be based on the emotional intelligence framework that I presented before. I think it would be extremely interesting to explore this direction also. Also, the characterization of the emotional maturity of members by also exploring the concept of the emotional alignment and how this could be used not only in the selection processes, but also in other processes of governance and of operation within collaborative networks, and also explore mechanisms for self-regulation of emotion, basically helping the collaborative network managers to avoid some potential conflicts and problems. And this could be, of course, based on some computational algorithms, intelligent algorithms such machine learning. And the last one, with a lot of question marks, how can we think that cyber physical systems could contribute to this research topic, and if that is something that could in fact enhance all of this research development. So I think that I'm almost a little bit off the limit, but I'm finished. Thank you very much, all of you, for listening, and I'm open to questions and discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Filipa, for this exciting topic. So now we'll have some time for the discussion. I would just appreciate if everybody
Yes,
could turn the cameras on.
I'm just going to stop.
That we can see each other, and then I would ask Sanas to moderate the discussion.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. And first of all, I would like to thank Professor Camarena for his interesting and knowledgeable sessions, and also Professor Filipa Ferrada, sorry, I am not very good in the names.
No problem.
For this interesting presentation. Actually, considering that AI-based technology is rapidly shifting our societies and economies, definitely from thinking-based societies and economy to feeling-based societies, any effort in developing emotional-oriented systems and affective computing is actually will prepare us for the better future, better adapting to the future that is coming, that is going to be much more filling economy. The subject is very challenging and full of undiscovered areas. And I'm sure we can discuss hours and hours about the subject, but we have 30 minutes time, and it's very limited. Personally, I have a huge interest in this subject, and I really would like to ask some questions and get the opinion of Professor Filipa. But let's first ask our audience what is their opinions about the subject, that Professor Filipa talked about, and if there are any questions, we will be happy to have your questions. Anyone? No? So maybe we should trigger with one question myself, and then I'm sure that you will continue me with a lot of questions. Professor, for me, I always had interest on emotion, and one question always exists for me: how you can determine emotion, how you can define emotion. Emotion has a range of means and modalities, which is very, very broad. Some of these modalities are even not easily accessible by machine, such as brain activity, neurotransmitters, or blood chemistry. Don't you think gathering the correct and enough information and data about to detect the emotional expression of each person in any network, in organization, is possible or even visible?
Well, I think that I agree with all of your comments regarding the difficulty and the questions that in fact arise regarding emotions. There are many developments already taking into consideration sensorial devices coupled to humans in order, in fact, to understand the heartbeat, how would you say, heartbeat, and also some brain activities. There are some works in that area that are being developed in order to help in defining and assessing and the different and recognizing the different emotional states of each person. Regarding collaborative networks, the idea behind this is a little bit different in terms that we think that we could appraise this emotional state, taking into consideration many of the interactions and many of the information that we have regarding the interactions between the different organizations. And of course, in a more futuristic scenario, we can also think that perhaps the people that is representing that organizations could also benefit from the developments that are being made in the area of human emotion. But the idea here mostly is to try to avoid some of those intrusive or more intrusive mechanisms and try to assess this emotional state of each organization, taking into consideration the information that we have available, and this information, as I said before, has a how do I say, a non-intrusive perspective. Well, I'm sorry, but I am just receiving here that I don't have image. Is that correct?
Yes, you don't have.
Oh, I'm really sorry. I don't know what's happening. I'm seeing myself right now in my computer. I don't know. I'm sorry. It is not on purpose. Perhaps something went wrong over here. But as I was saying, the idea here is to collect information from the collaborative environment in a non-intrusive way. So taking into consideration all the information that is available regarding the dynamics of the collaborative network itself. That's why we didn't use for now any other kind of models for this inference, and we adopted the system dynamics methodology, because it's a methodology that would help us create the different causal relationships between all the variables that we have access to, and in that sense try to infer what could be the emotional state of each company or organization within the collaborative network.
Thank you, Professor. Ricardo Parish, Dr. Ricardo Parish has a question. Raise hand, I believe.
Oh, thank you, Sanaz, and thank you, Filipa, for the very interesting presentation. So this concept was quite foreign for me, so I hope the question even makes sense in the first place. So when you are talking about the collaborative networks being able to abstract not only organizations, individuals, machines, so on and so forth, that got me thinking a little bit. Have you come across any type of application of these concepts, especially with the emotions side, within the shop floor? So, for instance, about or tackling problems such as job shop scheduling or things of that nature, where you could think about this concept of the emotions abstracting other more physical KPIs in the shop floor, like throughput, bottlenecks, and so on, to try to promote this collaboration within the shop floor and within different stations for problems like scheduling, routing, and so on. Have you seen any applications of it, or I was just curious?
Well, regarding more the shop floor perspective, I must be honest, I didn't try to find many developments in that area, but I think that is also a very interesting idea, and something that could in fact also give a good how do I say, a good input for trying to find more satisfactory processes regarding those processes in the shop floor. But no, honestly, I didn't look for those kind of potential application in the manufacturing in the manufacturing area. But it's very interesting. The idea, it's also very interesting. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, Filipa.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ricardo. Thank you. Any another question? Do we have? Okay, I have a question.
There is a question from Nazanin.
Yes, Nazanin, please.
Thank you, Filipa, for the great presentation and also attractive slides you prepared. Thank you very much. Actually, whenever I heard the collaborative networks word, I remember Professor Camarina example about watch factory that is located in, for example, in Switzerland, and they have some partners from other countries, for example, India or China and other countries. I want to know that how we can explain in tangible example the emotion, using emotion in collaborative network, especially when it causes reduction in conflict. Actually, I cannot make connection in my mind between emotion and also collaborative network in tangible example.
Well, I don't know if I understood correctly your question, but the idea of using this emotional perspective is mainly related with the social part, or the social aspects that are identified as one of the potential aspects for creating more sustainable networks. The emotions in collaborative networks basically can be used with the example that I just give in the scenario. So if we to somehow if we can infer or understand what could be that emotional state of an organization, we could prepare our work team in a way that would for somehow avoid some potential conflicts. As you know, many of the conflicts that sometimes arise within a collaborative work group, they most of the times they are not directly related with the technological or the operational processes themselves, but many times they could have they could be how do I say, they could be related to the more humanized aspects, basically related to trust, and also with the emotional feeling that each partner or each organization is feeling in that moment. So I think that with this, with the emotions and with all this emotional study and with all these emotional aspects within the collaborative networks, and more focused in the virtual organizations networks, would be for sure a good criteria to minimize some of these potential conflicts in one way. On the other way, they can also help in aspects for decision making. They can help in try to understand what could be the empathy that each organization have between them, and that could also help in a more successful and sustainable organization. So I think that if I answered correctly your question, this is the main advantage of creating such aspect or such social aspect within the collaborative networks environment.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nazanin. We have Shabnam raised a hand, okay, and also Majid. Majid, please wait, because Shabnam was first. Okay, thank you, Shabnam.
Thank you, Filipa. It was super interesting. Even I a little bit know about your work area before, but your explanation always attract my attention.
I
really
cannot
interesting.
hear. Can you hear something?
Yes, yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
I could not hear. Sorry.
I can hear you.
Can you hear now, Filipa?
No. I can
No?
hear you, Sanaz, but I cannot hear Shabnam. I don't know why.
What
But
about
I
now?
can hear Shabnam.
Yeah.
I can.
Shabnam, could you please little louder talk?
Okay, sure. Just can
What
you
about now, Filipa?
I cannot hear. I'm sorry. I don't even see her in my Zoom.
Oh.
I think that I'm having critical problems with my connection. But if you could for somehow translate the question that
Okay,
Shabnam
sure.
is making, I will try to answer. Sorry.
Maybe Shabnam put your question in the chat room,
Okay,
and we get the question of Majid, and then come back to you to answer your question. So maybe until that time, even the problem solved. Majid.
Okay, good. Filipa, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, very good. First of all, I would like to thank you for your nice presentation. Well, I would like to ask you a question about the sustainability in collaborating networks that you talked about in your presentation, particularly in slide number 4. Every organization of all type and size, when wants to embrace sustainability, needs to take into account some dimensions. The most addressed dimensions of sustainability in the literature are environmental, social, economic, although other dimensions are also pointed out, such as government, technological, human, and so on. My question is that, what do you think when we are going to establish and or develop a sustainable collaborating network, what dimensions we need to take into account?
Well, for sure, the dimensions that you previously mentioned regarding the environment, the economic, and the social part, of course, they must be part of the sustainability for collaborative networks. Nevertheless, here with this study, we focused more on the social part, on the sociological part, but of course the other dimensions are also extremely important. I'm not saying that emotions are in fact the answer for all the sustainability problems. I think that emotions can in an effective way help the dimension of the social dimension in order to create or in order to achieve a more sustainable collaborative network, for sure.
Thank you, Filipa.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Majid. Shabnam, maybe you try again. If not, we get your question. We will hear because I didn't get your question in the chat.
Filipa, do you have me?
Can you hear Filipa, Shabnam?
No, I cannot hear.
So please, Shabnam,
so
tell your question. I will tell her again.
Okay. First part is related to the social science part. Actually, is not more technological part. So how you put the human behavior in terms of the predictional part in your research when it goes to the social, because by the social sciences, the human behavior individually is completely different of the social networks.
I am also losing your voice. I don't know, it's just me or everyone?
Can you hear me?
I heard you how put human behavior in terms of prediction part. Until here, I hear.
Okay. Do you have me now?
Yes.
Okay. So because of the social science behavior studies shows that human individual behavior is complete, and even the mentality is completely different when they goes to the groups and in the networks, in the social networks or social medias or whatever related to the social. So first of all, I'm asking this because it's kind of related to my research part. Do you use any social, let's say, social lessons or social science studies that you used in your research that we can go and study about that?
Filipa, the main question of Shabnam is, do you use any social science studies in your research? Because according to Shabnam, there are when people emotion and behavior, as I understood what she said, when they are in behave as an individual is completely different from when they are behaving as a group or being in the society. So she's asking if there is any social science study that you used in your research, and if yes, in which field, because she has interest based on her research area to study more in this field.
Well, yes, I have conducted in a very brief way some study in the sociological or the social nature of emotions. Basically, I found some aspects related to the social functions that we can find basically at if I remember 4 levels of social functions that are the individual level, the interpersonal level, the group, and I don't know if another one. Now I don't have that in mind, but I've conducted some research in that area. I also studied the area of collective emotions and group-based emotions, also related to, of course, to humans. And I also made a brief research on the sociology of organizations, trying to understand what are the main aspects behind those aspects in what concerns the social aspects. And of course, some of these studies and works were also taken into consideration when I designed the system dynamics models, especially for the aggregated network network emotion. Yes.
Okay, thank you. And
Thank
may I
you.
have the second one?
Yeah.
So my second question is related to about designing for this area. I guess it will be very applicable in the human-computer interface area because of the let's say user emotion for using some let's say applications or some kind of computer aids. So do you think that your research can kind of go more and extend it to this area? Do you see the opportunity to use your work and go further on it?
Thank you, Shabnam. The second question of Shabnam is that do you think that your work the research that you are doing can be used for the human-computer interfaces to develop them or not?
Well, I think that that is an area that has been researched for a long time, and there are many research works in that specific area. In my case, or in our case, we are really just focusing on this more exotic aspect of emotions within collaborative networks, not so much in the human-computer interfaces, human-computer interactions, but more on the interactions among organizations within collaborative network, especially because that's an area that has been playing for a long time and that has many good solid backgrounds. And what I did is get inspiration from some of those research works, but I don't think that we can contribute for that in question. I think that in conjunction or together with the area of the human-computer interaction and the area that is being addressed here, I think that in conjunction we can, of course, think of another research directions and with another perspectives and so on. But no, for now, no. Thank you.
Thank you.
I believe we can get the question of Professor Gomes because we have 4 minutes and it will be the last question. Please, Professor Gomes.
Okay, thank you. So good afternoon. Thank you very much, Filipa, for your presentation. I was warned that the topic is not exactly in our daily topics, but it was very interesting. I noticed that you end with a kind of question. How can CPS contribute to your topic? So I'm tempted to send it back to you in the other way. How your topic can contribute to CPS or in larger extent to engineering. One question could be, are you considering to enlarge your slide number 8, included engineering in those slides? That could be interesting because there's several aspects that are already there, computer science, and computer networks is in your topics, but also some other keyword in your presentation is decision making processes, and this is very important in engineering terms. And ethics have also important role in these decision making processes in engineering. So how do you plan to include this tough topic of ethics in your conceptual maps?
Well, that for sure is a good question. One way, of course, that the question of ethics is something that we have thought and we have discussed, and just in order to give an answer to that question of ethics, we decided to use only the information and the data that is made public from the organizations, and in that sense we somehow can avoid and pursue some of the ethical related aspects. Regarding the question of how these collaborative network emotions could help or could contribute to cyber physical systems, that is a question that, in fact, I think it's more or less in line with what Ricardo also asked, and I think that it's something that it's a direction we can think about that, but it was not took into consideration for now. But of course, it's something that we can discuss, and we can further research. I think this topic is in fact provocative, right? In terms that the concept itself of emotion attached to organizations is something that the psychologists would run away. But I think that it has means and is extremely challenging to go further. And I think that with the inclusion of other disciplines and other experts from other disciplines, this could in fact walk to a very interesting research topic, in my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Professor Gomes. Thank you, Professor Filipa. It was wonderful question, and actually I had the same question about the ethic, but I got some part of my answer, which I would like to discuss it much more. But thank you very much.
Later on, of course.
Definitely. Actually, I wanted to make an arrangement with you to have a meeting to discuss several subjects, including this subject of the ethic. But it was wonderful presentation, wonderful talk and questions, and I would like to thank you again for this opportunity to learn about the emotion and emotion in collaborative networks and how it can be involved in a machine and be kind of automatized. So it's a really a new era, and really we should consider about it and work more about it in this field. And I am the first person that I would like to join to your research. It's really interesting area. I would like to thank everyone for your presentation, and I will give the microphone to Professor Camarino to close the session. Thank you, everyone.
So thank you very much. Thank you, Filipa, Sanaz, and all attendants for this very interesting session. And I think at least we got new questions to think about. And I would like also to take this opportunity to remind you and invite you to the next session that we'll have in this series, that will be on 12th of May, so in 2 weeks from now. And it will be again about another exotic topic that I'm sure will raise a lot of discussion. That's about computational creativity, design cyber physical systems. And that time the speaker will be Sanaz. So you are all welcome on 12th of May to, at the same time, the same link to attend the next session. So thank you and see you around.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Filipa.
Thank you.